What's up guys, Joel here back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about tips for building muscle. Everybody wants muscle, but it always seems like this thing that's always running away from us. It's hard to get. It's what we're all in the gym for. We all want that Toji, that Baki physique. So I'm about to help y'all out. Now, first things first, before any of these tips, muscle growth is a natural byproduct of what is called progressive overload. And if you don't know what progressive overload is, it's literally just getting stronger over time, right? You take something that you can do, let's say 135 pounds for any given exercise for like 10 reps, right? And over the course of 5 years, you can now do 315 for 10 to 5 reps or whatever I just said. You will have gotten substantially bigger, probably bigger than most of the people in your gym. Getting stronger, training hard is how you get muscle. Now, if you want to break it down, to be challenged enough to get stronger comes from a load. It comes from a mix from volume and intensity. And then if you want to break it down even more, volume and intensity mainly come from your mechanical tension, which is like the weight, like how challenging the weight is. Time under tension, how long your reps and sets are. And then metabolic stress, that burning sensation that you feel when lifting weights. So that's the basis of muscle building. All of these tips are complementary to that, but the main thing is if you're getting stronger and progressing over time, you're gaining muscle. Tip number 1 is to focus on the stretch, the lowering phase, right? The stretch is proven by a multitude of studies to be the most hypertrophic part of the lift, aka the part where we're gaining the most muscle. And this makes sense. It's naturally easier to get more time under tension and metabolic stress in that stretch, right? And the stretch comes from the lowering phase, aka the eccentric. So focusing on a good stretch, aka a slow eccentric. So maybe on some of your sets, right? Let's say you're doing a bicep curl. Let's just pretend this is a full range of motion, right? You don't want to necessarily kind of just go up and then drop it down. You kind of want to milk the stretch a little bit. And an easy way to like make this an intensity technique, right, is on the very last rep, right, which is naturally going to be your most hypertrophic rep because it's going to be the most challenging. But on your last rep, say you can't really go up anymore, do a force negative, just going down as slow as possible. This will add metabolic stress, time under tension, and this will even add mechanical tension. Some of the 3 main principles of muscle growth. So focusing on a slow eccentric, a slow and controlled eccentric on your movements is incredibly beneficial for muscle growth. Focusing on the eccentric was actually what helped me grow my chest. If you don't know, I actually had like a very stubborn chest, and now my chest is like relatively respectable. But at my gym, the heaviest they had was 90s, and I was way stronger than that. So I was like, I had to find ways to challenge myself. So what I did was I focused on slower negatives and then going past the point where it touched my chest, kind of flying it and then going even lower. And this kind of helped my chest explode in the air. So focusing on a good eccentric is an amazing way to shoot your gains up. Now, tip number 2 for, shooting up your gains would be to include intensity techniques. We all knew this was coming. Intensity and volume are 2 sub-principles of gaining muscle, right? But what are intensity techniques? They're really just techniques to make your sets a little bit harder than they would be without them, right? So think of things like a superset where you're going from one exercise to another exercise. That's an intensity technique, right? Think of somebody helping you like on forced reps, right? So you've gone to the past the point of failure and now you have somebody helping you get a few extra reps, right? Or an even better intensity technique, kind of bouncing off of the last one, is long length partials. It's essentially where you're going from the most lengthened phase to kind of only halfway up. Because this is the most hypertrophic point of the lift, it's smart to include some long length partials in your sets, right? Now, granted, you don't have to make this the basing of your training where all you're doing is long length partials, right? But let's say you have a lagging muscle group, your back, for example, and you have an exercise that's specifically meant to target your lats, which is the part of your back that's lagging. Throwing in like a long length partial drop set at the end could be very beneficial. So throwing in intensity techniques like that are smart. And just to reiterate, long length partials do have the most research behind them suggesting that they are the best intensity technique. So if you would wish to try that out, by all means, go ahead. Tip number 3, and this is kind of an artificial tip, but it certainly helped me a lot, was to write down your lifts. What writing down your lift does, it allows you to keep track of what you did last time so you effectively know what you have to beat going into the gym. It's also a way to just make lifting fun in general, right? So let's say I did 275 pounds for 6 on incline bench last time, right? I write this down on my notes, or I write 275 times 7 because I know I had to beat my last rep range to, progressive overload for muscle. Writing down your lifts is just, it can keep you on track. A lot of the times when I was going into the gym, it was very easy to do less than last time because even though it was less than last time, it still felt challenging. If you're somebody that trains with intensity, it's gonna feel hard from rep 1. So it's kind of hard to gauge what's failure all the time and just remember it. So writing it down for me made it a lot easier, right? This is one of the ways that I skyrocketed my bench, just by simply writing it down. And a lot of the times you're not going to be able to go up by a whole rep. Sometimes I'll be a dumbass and just put 6.25. So, I'm not going to go up all the way, but I'm going to at least attempt, right? And try to get up a fourth of the way. So writing down your lifts is very helpful because it allows you to effectively know what you have to beat next time for you to have made progress. And remember, progress is what builds muscle. Tip number 4 for, skyrocketing your gains is just gonna be going on a lean bulk or just upping your carbs in general. When we're on a bulk or when we've increased our carbs, we naturally have a lot more energy to just go harder in a workout, right? Because carbs are our primary source of energy. So naturally, when you give your body a lot more carbs, you're effectively able to go a lot harder on your workouts, and thus you can progress better. And what builds muscle? Progressive overload. So making sure you're good on carbs is a surefire way to skyrocket your gains. But even more than that, going on a bulk, specifically a lean bulk. I don't like dirty bulking, and I don't advocate it nor do I recommend it. But a lean bulk is beneficial because not only do you have an excess of carbs to, help you fuel your workouts and get stronger, but on a lean bulk, you're naturally going up on weight more frequently. So your ability to put more weight on the bar and make progress is also going to help. Because regardless of what you want to believe, what you want to think, mass moves mass, weight moves mass. So getting heavier will help you progress. Now, I'd recommend not overdoing the bulk because you don't want to let the strength that you gain on a bulk only be the byproduct of you gaining weight. It should also be a byproduct of you naturally getting stronger. So a 200 to 300 surplus is good, but yeah. Just generally increasing carbs for more energy, your water intake as well, and taking it a step further and going on lean bulks when necessary is an easy way to make more gains. Tip number 5 for skyrocketing your gains is going to be your exercise selection. Now, exercise selection is not as important as making sure that you are getting in the gym and training hard, but it certainly can have a bit of an effect, right? So let's say you're someone that's trying to effectively hit your lats, but you're doing a typical lat pull down. The typical lat pull down is not necessarily the best for biasing your lats. An underhand pull down or a neutral grip pull down would likely be better because it aligns with the fibers of your lats and it's naturally easier to drag your elbow out, which, if you didn't know, dragging your elbow out or down when you're doing any lat movement is naturally going to allow you to hit it better. So making sure you have proper exercise selection along with proper form is very beneficial for skyrocketing your gains, right? It's a lot of what's in the gym is just cutting out the bullshit and focusing on what's quality, right? You have 10 chest exercises, right? And you only really need 3. You're gonna choose what are the smartest options from a hypertrophy standpoint. An incline dumbbell bench press, a converging chest press, and a chest fly machine, right? So making sure your exercise selection is right is always helpful. It's not gonna make the hugest difference like from here to here, but it can give you that slight edge. Like, I'm not as big on like fancy exercises as other people, but it can certainly help. One of the exercises I advocate for is the JPG pull down. My gym has a very similar version of this, which is the high row. It's basically the same thing, but it's a lot better at biasing your lats and getting a good stretch than other exercises. So making sure you're doing your research saying, hey, how do I specifically bias the target muscle here, right? Let's say you're trying to hit the long head of the bicep. How do I bias a long head? Researching specific biases and what exercises are best for specific biases is very smart. Now, generally, if you're a person with good compound lifts in your routine and some isolation work, you're growing just fine. But if you do want to take it this step further and really focus on your weak points and skyrocket your gains, focusing on a good and inclusive exercise selection would help a lot. And there you have it, guys. Tips for building muscle. Let me know what y'all want to see next time. I'm still trying to keep this YouTube shit going. I plan to eventually make a channel membership and maybe include, and no, not maybe, but certainly include every routine that I make, my routines, science-based routines for women. And it's just going to be a part of my channel memberships. And let me know in the comments other stuff you would like to include with my channel membership so I could make it worth the money, because you are supposed to charge a little bit for it. So yeah, but yeah, thank you guys for watching.